Hi everybody, I'm Robert LaRocca, you know me. Welcome to part 5, the last section of my Damien Omen II analysis. We're going to jump right in, except, wait a minute, where's the music? Okay, that's better. We'll pick up where we left off last time. After Damien kills Mock, he starts screaming and then he starts crying, but there are no tears. There's a Black Sabbath song called The Devil Cried, and this reminds me of that. There's Damien feeling sad that Mock is gone. Maybe he shouldn't have killed him. Rich and the disease-ridden skank Anne show up. Like Damien, Anne screams. Have you ever noticed a person who screamed but you have a feeling they aren't sincere? Damien immediately starts lying, saying he didn't do anything. Wow, this is a great portrait of a narcissist. Rich holds the lifeless body of his brother's son in his arms. I'm sure that he did love Mark. Mark was a good kid. And Anne, could you get your penis breath out of my face, please? Putting the fun back in funeral. This movie is bleak. Yeah, it's a bunch of shiny black funeral cars. Great. You know, as great as it is, what would make this funeral better? The military. There's Neff. Next to him is Teddy. If you just look down the line, no one actually cares. Evil Mike Brady sneaks a glance at Neff. Hey, you were evil like me. Neff says, yeah, maybe later we could touch penises. Damien looks over as if to say, please cool the gay stuff until after we're done here. Rich looks like he's in shock. We have the licentious, prurient Hoochie Ann crying with few or no tears. The weight of the situation shows on Richard's face. He's thinking of every idea he had that was wrong and every decision he misjudged. And the bordello tramp is sad that she will never be able to properly violate Mark. A bunch of shiny cars and the military school van bringing up the rear. If you don't want to end up like this, you'd better make some changes. Because no matter how much money you have, it's just going to be a bigger gravestone and better flowers. Rich decides to go to New York to visit Charles and of course see Gail's wall. And the scuzzy slattern typically wants to impede justice and good behavior. Damien looks healthy. He doesn't seem particularly concerned about anything anymore. Apparently, Mark was the only human relationship in which he was invested. Richard will fly to New York in his private jet. One would expect the Thorn industry to have a more robust airliner, but maybe this is just the one they keep around for quick jaunts. Here's something bizarre, or it would be, but for the fact that Anne is a putrid skag. Both are, for some reason, smiling and waving. And Richard waves back. This is a great example of inappropriate behavior. Damien just looks the same, emotionless. Is that some herpes from Anne on his thin, cruel lips? Richard takes a cab to the church in which Charles is hiding after seeing the wall. Hello, Father, I'm Richard. I believe my crazy friend is staying here. Charles is still holding on to the same cross from his Israeli care package. This is how I answer, if I answer, just one eyeball. Charles pulls Rich inside. Charles starts babbling. To me, this seems like it doesn't work because he was psyched up and angry before, but maybe he wasn't expecting the force of evil to be so strong. Richard humors him, trying to give him the old, okay, that's all right, but his good nature quickly wears out. And there's the bottom teeth and wide eyes again. Wealthy people are like this, I think. No patience, or maybe he is just angry with himself. Foreshadowing. Charles doesn't even want to go, but he has to show Richard where to find Gail's wall. And here it looks like they might be served a Hawaiian punch. Yag, look out, that was close. Train yard. Not a good place for a casual stroll. Charles is completely freaked out and Richard is thinking, what next? All the ills of the world are contained within organizations dedicated to profit. Charles is too afraid to go in. He gives Richard the key. Here's Richard unlocking. Inside there's a bunch of boring-looking crates and a couple of iconic statues. Suddenly the wheels to this unattended switch engine or yard goat begin to turn. The evil of machines that seem to run themselves. Here's Richard staring closely. And here is Damien's likeness staring back, except the eyes in the painting are green. Here is Charles mashing the heavy cross into his face. Looks like he might have had a drink or two as well. Richard's eyes grow wide with astonishment at the uncanny resemblance. The self-driving yard switcher smashes into a car, making a connection at the coupling. For some reason, that is again interesting. Okay, now we see why. The satanic coupler on the Thorn boxcar grabs Charles at the waist. He gets smashed into gristle between two Thorn boxcars. My father told me a story about this kind of thing once. Apparently, a guy got crushed or impaled between two boxcar couplers like this. He was still alive. They told the guy that when they eventually pulled the cars apart, he would die. So did he have any last requests? He asked someone to go get him a Big Mac from the McDonald's across the street, and they did. He ate the Big Mac and they pulled the cars apart, and he died. Does that sound like a true story to you? Well, Charles didn't get a Big Mac, that's for sure. Richard takes a good close look at another corpse. This would be number 7, I think. This look is just exhaustion. There's only so much capacity that the brain has for shock. You see guys who are subjected to combat a lot become like this. Trauma. His mind is protecting him by shutting down. And speaking of combat, here are a bunch of shiny swords and flags and hats and all kinds of paraphernalia that the wealthy uses to influence you to fight their battles. Notice that there are 7 swords, one for each head of the beast. Damien is voted the cadet who best exemplifies the standards of hell, damnation, suffering, death, and hatred. Here is Paul sniffing at Anne's foul, stinking, polluted, defiled, clogged up, and repellent lady parts. He tries to get her to look his way. Oh, Damien, congratulations on running millions of lives, as all good soldiers should. Oh, it has been an honor to defile the innocent, sir. Paul is leaning in, but we can all smell Anne from here. Look at the pleasure on the Queen of Whoredom's face. The horse face. The vile, abominable Anne shyly agrees to come back later to befoul this freak's body, but I'm afraid she won't be keeping that appointment. Here's Damien, the model soldier. Neff has the shifty eyes. Is this nature or nurture or both? Something is wrong somewhere. Richard tells their driver, Murray, to pick Damien up after the ceremony and drive him to the museum. And it's back to Skanktopia. There are always plenty of opportunist tarts who can't wait to get their hands on a military man's pension and all those benefits. There's something about a jackal pelvis man. If you're under 45, Google Aqua Velva commercial and be prepared for esoteric enlightenment. Evil Mike Brady should be much happier. It's funny how evil people don't ever seem to be happy, even when they have what they want. Murray enters with instructions to transport Damien to the museum. Neff approaches the nest of bad boy harlotry. Neff retrieves Damien, much to the dismay of the novice floozies. Here is Richard trying to explain the gravity of the situation to the detestable Anne as she tries to use her horse-faced influence to stop him. Richard, however, will not be swayed. Damien has arrived at the museum and he ascends the entrance stairs. Murray watches Damien. He's going to wait around to see whom he will be driving where. Richard is searching all around, then he sees the locked drawer, grabs a crowbar and pries open the drawer. All the while, the likeness of Charles smiles from a dust jacket. Anne, which is short for annoying once again, inserts her execrable and deplorable ambitions into the way of righteous conduct. Here reminding Richard that this is a boy you've loved for 7 years. And here comes Damien wearing a stupid uniform. He pauses outside to indulge in a bit of auditory voyeurism. And the pig is saying, "No, I won't let you hurt my pool boy, I won't let you." And Richard, finally, to much applause from me, makes the jump from ineptitude to steadfast resolution, transcending to the status of unwavering and resolute heroicism, with my favorite line of the movie, "The boy must die." And of course, Anne Noying steps between Richard and the right thing to do, so typical for this Lord of the Wasteland groupie. Richard, however, makes another mistake, and instead of slapping her unconscious, instead asks her to give him the knives. Anne gives Richard the knives. "Here are your daggers," she exclaims proudly. Well, you can take the hoe out of the street, but you can't take the street out of the hoe. This is why Richard should have slapped the shit out of her in the beginning of the movie. Here is one last look at my horse teeth, the bottom ones. She gets to say her final line, "I've always belonged to him." Well, that's something to brag about, alright. Damien looks like he really cares, too. Here, whorish Anne screams the name of her favorite late-night fantasy. She's primed to get busy. But Damien is not into burned-out slags, and Anne is about to become as burned out as it gets. I think that's gas being pumped through the radiator. You can see it down there. Of course, this takes Anne by surprise. She figured there would be at least some snuggles and fiddling. But nope, this is your reward. And take a look at that giant device behind her. How did they get this shot without ruining the camera? Damien is aloof like Kiefer Sutherland. And now, collagen. I'm not sure what Damien is thinking here, but he doesn't look like a boy anymore, does he? Anne is burning with desire. She's making a fire angel, which is like a snow angel, but with fire. Damien is bored with it. Anne's lifeless, charred body drops to the ground. She will never know another man. Damien will be carrying a lot of emotional baggage after this. Hey, there's no dinosaurs in the Bible. I think Damien is looking at Murray here. This is contempt. If someone ever looks at you like this, turn around and head in the other direction. Here's another verse from the Bible that has nothing to do with what they've been showing us for the past 2 hours. All the events and characters are fictitious, good to know, on location. So what did we learn from all this fast and loose theologic appropriation? Well, I've been talking a lot. It would be totally cool to hear from you in the comments. Thanks once again for sharing your time with me. Take care of yourself.